Hello SGD, Sacred Geometry Decoded, and this will be a teaser follow-up. I will do more in depth, but end of part 5, speaking about Heliopolis, the alignment of actually many pyramids. If you stand at Heliopolis, you could see all of them off in the distance. They were all placed there in reverence, in respect to Heliopolis, but the Great Pyramid especially. And I'll put some links in the description, but in regards, to ancient systems of measure and how they're reflected in ancient sites across the world to embed very lovely, very specific sets of numbers, but the connection between time, meter, cubits, and also a connection to the allegedly modern English foot. Man is a measure of all things. Protagoras, I've covered it previous episode where the Greeks and Romans learned the year and their divisions of time. Well, from the ancient Chaldeans and from the ancient Egyptians, they specifically tell us so. Now, man is a measure of all things. One cubit plus 1 meter is 5 feet within splitting hairs. So a foot plus a cubit plus a meter is 6 foot. This will connect directly to Vitruvian man, and again referenced in books such as 10 Books of Architecture by Vitruvius. So 1 foot plus 1 Egyptian royal cubit plus 1 meter. Using the strictest definitions, you're less than 1/2 of a millimeter from perfection. But there are important things to be brought in there, because no one side of a pyramid is exactly the same length. So this is a common mistake, and it leads, when you're studying the pyramid, if you include the imperfections, what you get is a series of beautiful, profound perfection. Pi, phi, geometry, ratio, it's all there in the imperfections. When you round it off, you actually lose quite a bit. So, especially the unit of measure. Now, the Egyptian royal cubit, this is a later rod, but the original Egyptian royal cubit, which you can find from all of the pyramids, especially the Giza pyramids of Giza. What exactly is it? Well, it's again splitting hairs. It's within less than width of a hair from pi over 6 meters if you make an average of all 4 sides. The shortest and the longest side of a pyramid have a 20 centimeter difference, a little bit over 2/3 of a foot, but now again, I'll put links in the description because this will connect to earlier. So the relationship of the foot to the cubit, it's E minus 1. If you look into Euler's, well, it's 2.718. Well, it's actually 1.718 plus 1, because there's a little bit of shenanigans going on there. But now our 1 second pendulum, the oldest, best way until quartz crystals and the most modern methods to measure a second was through a pendulum. 1 second pendulum is 1 Egyptian royal cubit of arc. I'll put a link to a playlist, this pendulum playlist, where I go through this because it's quite a bit there. And also to this one, Mystery of Vitruvian Man, where I speak about, I've done it in other videos as well, because it's very symbolic connections between Doric and Ionic foot, as well as the allegedly modern English foot, are actually all here in the Salamis stone, which was, it's embedded nicely for us in Vitruvian man as well, but also the square root of 3 Egyptian royal cubits being the base there, again within 1/3 of a millimeter. But the point of it is, all of the pyramids are connected to Heliopolis, but especially the Great Pyramid. So there I've just you can just draw a line across the middle of the pyramid from the southwest to the northeast corner, and this is where it will take you to. And now, why this specific spot within the precinct? Well, that's 25,920 yards, and you can see 45-degree heading. There's some factors if you include other factors, I'll go into them into detail. This is just a quick. So the Great Pyramid, as well as the other Giza pyramids individually, you go from corner to corner, they all point at Heliopolis, has a group Khafre and the Great Pyramid point at Heliopolis, as the group Abu Si'i points at Heliopolis. So whether it's Abu Gharaib down all the way down the pyramids, if you stand at Heliopolis, you can see all of them laid out before you. But if I was standing at Heliopolis, this is exactly the view I would get. I would be looking smack down, right down the guts of the northeast corner. Why is the northeast corner? Again, I've done one in a video when each corner, each face has a specific meaning. So usually you'll see that diagram 7/11 where it's pi and phi connections, or very close approximates. Well, if you want close, if you want as close as you're going to get within any modern measure, you go from corner to corner, and each corner has a specific meaning. The northeast corner is a relationship of time, but it's also the best description of the size of the Earth, 86,400 seconds per day. That relates back to the pendulum and the cubit. 43,200 is nice, but it takes a top view, then a side view, and then you only get half of the Earth. Pyramid is three-dimensional, and so if you look at it as a three-dimensional, the most you'll ever see is two base sides and the height. The height doesn't change whatever your perspective walking around, but you stand at Heliopolis and you look at the pyramid. This is what you see, and you have to include the sockets and so the paving stones, and on each corner there was something called a socket. This gives it a little bit added height. So if you want the geometry, pi, phi, just the pyramid. If you want the Earth and astronomical information, you need to include the socle and the sockets. And 86,400 seconds per day, pendulum, Egyptian Royal Cubit, 1 second. So if I stand at Heliopolis, the most I can see of the base of the Great Pyramid is the rotational speed of the Earth per second. So 86,400 seconds per day. 432 is nice, but it's cumbersome, it's inelegant. It doesn't incorporate the deeper aspects of it. It only describes half of the Earth. And you don't get seconds from it. You don't get the cubit from it. It all blends in. So, therefore, if I stand at Heliopolis, I look at the Great Pyramid. That's exactly what I see, right down the corner. I multiply that by 86,400, as in seconds per day. I get the equatorial circumference of the Earth equal to the best modern measurements, 99.999%. And even the best modern measurements are a series of averages, not a snapshot 100%, because as the Earth rotates, you're going to get sometimes oceans, sometimes mountains on the edge. So if I want to measure the diameter of the Earth, there I have Earth, and so that's higher than the ocean. But over here I'll have the water. So the diameter of the Earth, but 86,400 from Heliopolis, the ancient center of astronomy and geometry. This is what I see. And I also see the height, including the paving stones and the socle. I multiply that by 86,400. I get the polar diameter of the Earth. Now we have the whole Earth, not a half Earth where you need a side view of a two-dimensional side view, and then a bird's eye view, two-dimensional view. One view, one cubit, 1 second. There we have it, looking from Heliopolis. So if I measure from that corner, crossing through the astronomy corner, the northeast corner, and I carry that line through to Heliopolis at 25,920 yards. There what do we have? We hit this point here, which is just next to the obelisk of Sensuret the First. But why this particular, that's where the line leads us to, but why this distance? And I'll get a lot more, because this is just touching the tip of the iceberg stuff here. So there, now I've just overlaid the recent, so there you see the enclosure walls, but what do we have here? Highlight that. And what we have is recent geophysical survey, morphological survey. The combined approach of geomorphological and geophysical surveying proved for the first time the existence of a paleo landscape marked by at least one sandy elevation rising on an island of at least 5.5 meters above the floodplain where first settlement took place. This is where first settlement was. It was the first mound. And it rose above the flood. In addition, they paved the way for the first location of so what happened is there's been a series of earthworks, and through the from the Old Kingdom this was settled, but even through the Middle to Late Kingdom, they changed the topography to make it more special. But why is this mound? This is proven. This is the mythical topics such as the transformation of a mythical landscape into an archaeological reenactment of this mythic past can be addressed anew. But what is this spot so important? Because that is the original mound. That is the Benben of the Ennead. That's where the sandy mound rose and sat above the flood waters. That was the Heliopolis was the Temple of Ra-Atum, the creator god of the Ennead. That is the Benben. There's the mound, and this points at that spot, not just anywhere in there. That points to this spot. Now, there's also, I'll come to it because it's been largely dismantled, but there's evidence as well for why this particular spot is special as well, because based on archaeological finds. But this is where Atum, Horus, Osiris, Set, Geb, and Nut were all born according to the Egyptians themselves. Across the ancient text, not projecting some new age stuff on it. That's what the Egyptians told us, and they tell us, and they told us that repeatedly. That's the mound there. Now, this distance as well. For instance, in the Great Harris Papyrus, at least 12,963 employees within the temple. 12,963 times 2 is 25,926. But there was the high priest, and there was the two directly subordinate. I'm going to get more info on that. So that would, well, yeah. More interesting, I mentioned the Salamis stone and these ancient measures of units which go back across time, and they deliver us to all these important harmonic numbers across multiple ancient sites, including in England and France, such as Karnak and the stone circles. Again, and this comes from the pendulum, a 1 second pendulum, which is the cubit, which is also the canonical cubit as well, through the Mohenjo-Daro foot, which gives us the size. Well, that's the Mohenjo-Daro foot, and that cubit will give us the base of the pyramid, including the sockets. And now, if you're not familiar, these are all your beautiful numbers that convert to sun, earth, and moon sizes. They're all there, all of them. And also, what can you say? Now, 29,920 is a number of years in the great year. Apparently, just like with Pythagorean theorem, delium problem, it's given to the Greeks, but Heliopolis, center of astronomy. There you go. Now, it's also nice that the sun converts in Doric scale, which is the male, the sun, male, and the Greek traditions, or the Doric, converts to 2592000. And time, the cubit, the meter, measurements based on man, and all blending together. I'll put the link, because especially in this pendulum series, I go through that. It describes even the height of the socle, how the Mohenjo-Daro unit connects to that. Also, it's also called the Royal Babylonian, and it was also used as the Saxon foot in Europe up until Queen Elizabeth I. The sizes of the Earth, all there, it's all measurable, and it all connects, and it describes ancient sites across the world. Really, really, really does. And to harmonic numbers. If you measure something, you're always going to get a number, but we're getting beautiful harmonic, geometric, geodesic, and sun, earth, and moon numbers. And that's the mound. That's the original mound. That's where it points to. Have a good one.